That's another thing I teach our realtors on my team. Listen, you're going to get fired sometimes. It's not your fault at
Right.
all. It's going to happen.
Yeah. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
And things happen and, they don't all pan out your way. So.
Yeah. I have so many wins and great things, help so many people that, like, even though, yes, you're going to have losses that are not fair, I'd rather still have this.
Good. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Closing with Cory podcast. I appreciate everybody. I got a lot of good feedback from the last one. Actually, this episode will probably come out in 2 weeks because the one that we just filmed last week isn't out yet. So the one before that, just feedback-wise, has been fantastic these last couple of weeks. So thank you, everybody. Today, I got a special one. I'm excited about this. I reached out to this guy right here a couple of weeks ago. I became friends with him on Facebook. I see all the stuff that he's doing. He's very, very successful. I have Alex Monaco with me today. Alex Monaco is an award-winning real estate agent with RE/MAX & Style, specializing in Central New Jersey. He's sold over $100 million of real estate in the first 10 years as an agent, and he runs his own team right now with 5 other agents and continues to grow his business every year. So, Alex, thank you for hopping on, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Cory. Appreciate it. Love what you're doing here.
Hanging out, having a good time, having some good conversations.
Talking real estate.
We were just talking a little bit off camera, just as far as goal wise for the podcast has shifted a lot over like the last. I probably started this maybe about 2 years ago. Just wasn't as consistent as I wanted to be. Mm-hmm. And then like the goal of it kind of just changed to where it was like, all right, market stats, information, and then I realized that just having good conversations was just the main, I think, goal that I wanted to start really pursuing a lot more. And I realized having those conversations, like we were talking about with agents and people that, specialize in this area or just like different areas within real estate, just has a ton of quality and benefits.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's not just for people who are looking to buy or sell. It's like anyone. Realtors could watch. Anyone interested in real estate to any capacity. There's something you could be interested in.
Yeah, so no, for cool. Sure. And I think a lot of it translates with social media. And I mean, social media for me has been, I've talked about it a lot, has been probably one of the top things that has I think, shifted my business and taken my business to another level. It's kind of where I started. And I started out just by reaching out to a lot of people on social media, and then from there, just staying connected with them on social media. Right. And then from the stuff that I see that you're doing, I see that you're using social media. I don't want to say to your advantage, but probably to you're utilizing it in a right way. I guess to showcase to potential clients, probably clients that you're working with. Did you start doing that early on in business, or is that something that you kind of have taken on over the last couple of years?
Yeah, pretty early on, maybe year 2 or 3 while I was into it, started posting. The posts weren't pretty, I didn't know what I was doing or why I was doing it, but at least I was doing it. Right, so there's something to be said for that. Yeah. I was putting things out there, and then that's when people started, reaching out to me like, hey, I see, you're doing real estate, good for you, and then started getting business from it. And just kind of slowly but surely just trying to improve on it, make it more interesting, just like what you're doing, trying to always make it more engaging, show myself, my personal life, all that, you don't want to be salesy, you don't want to just be like, I'm a realtor, just listed, just sold, listed, oh my god.
I know.
So I'm always working on it. It's fun. It's like you could never like master it, you can always get better at it. So it's cool. And I'm trying to connect with people, and the more people you have in your life, in your world, the better. And the more people you can help. Social media is awesome. You can reach so many more people because of it.
Yeah, I agree. I think in the beginning I was in that mindset to where I was like, oh, I have to start posting the just listed and the under contracts and the just closed and all these things, just because when I was looking at a lot of the people that I knew was successful in the business, like that's what I was seeing.
Right.
And then I realized it was almost crazy. It almost worked the opposite that I thought it was going to work, to where not as many people were engaged with just that type of content. And then to your point, when I started really mixing in my own personal life, along with real estate, and then along with just other type of like, trying to be engaged in different media and content, that's when I really started seeing like a much bigger turnaround.
Exactly. Yeah. You post things that are relevant to people. I post like restaurants, like food, local stuff that, I enjoy it and it's interesting to me. So, other people do, then it's cool.
One thing that you do is that it's pretty cool. I was looking on your Facebook is like some of the questions that you ask are very, very engaging in the sense to where a lot of people will be able to kind of, jump into that conversation.
Yeah.
It's not so much real estate related and it's not so much like buyer or seller. It's just more so just like your friend list of people.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, no, to be honest, I steal a lot of it. Why recreate the wheel? Mm-hmm. So I follow a lot of people. I get a lot of ideas from people, just, random, some real estate, some not, that, I think are interesting.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of people I know, and like we kind of all share stuff. So like if I see someone posted something and like so many people liked it, I'm like, that's fun. Like, and it got 100 likes and 50 comments. I'm like, I'm posting it, and they take my stuff too. So it all, anything that is fun that, you don't have to recreate the wheel. It's like, it's there for you. That's always cool with me. So
I think, I agree with you because there's a lot of stuff throughout the years and coming up a little bit, and more so than anything, people like that I admired, that I saw what they were doing, and to your point, it's like, oh wow, that's a really good idea, let me kind of put my own spin on it. And I also developed that in just other areas of real estate, whether it was the way that I approached open houses or the way that I approached listing appointments. Because I'll tell you, from my first couple of listing appointments, like I look back on like the earlier versions of me, and I realize why I didn't get some of those listings just because of my approach to it. Because I was like, I'm gonna go to this person's house and I'm going to just let them know that I'm the most knowledgeable person on this area, and I'm going to let them know every just sold and show them these graphs and show them all these things. And it got to the point where like I would like confuse myself as far as like what I had so many papers out, and I'm just like, this is not the right way of doing things. And then I started shadowing a few appointments and realizing that the first one that I shadowed, I forget who it was, but I remember that they showed up with just like a folder and their iPad, and I'm like, that's all that you're gonna bring in, and that was it. And then I realized that a lot more of it comes all back to just like the personality. Yeah, just like, are you going to enjoy this conversation to then be able to just like me or trust me enough to then want to engage in me being able to represent you for the transaction.
Yeah, no, it's so true. It's like just being a person. When I go into someone's house, the first thing I'm talking about is typically like their pets or their kids. Their job, like, you want people to feel comfortable around you. And a lot of times they have their guard up and they expect you to be like salesy and like pushing and like, we got a list for this much, and it's like, ooh, they're not going to want to hear that. That's what new agents typically do. And then,
I did it.
Me too.
I went in just directly like, oh, hey, how you doing?
Let me tell you why I
That's exactly what it was.
Think. Yep.
And then I realized too, like, the way that it's received, it's like it's almost just like aggressive in a way. Where it's like, oh my goodness, like you just got in, and already you're going into
talking
like
numbers. And there's the different personality types, and like everyone's different. So some people, like, that human connection is like all they care about. Like they like you, they don't care, they're gonna just go with you. But other people are more analytical. So like and you still need to be personable with everyone, I think. But like then those people, you do need like your numbers and everything ready, and they want to see your stats and everything. Everyone's different. You got to kind of gel with how they are. But there's got to be personality. There's got to be a relationship there.
I agree, and I don't know if you'll agree or not, but what I started to realize is not like changing who I am as like a person, but like changing my approach based off of reading like the person and what they're looking for. Where your point exactly, that there are people that just from picking up on a few things that they're saying, I'm like, okay, they're gonna want to see the graphs, and they're gonna want to see the this and the that. And there's times where I don't even go through my actual like listing presentation, and I don't even open up my iPad
because they're not gonna care.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like I'm not gonna I'm not going to even try and push this too much because I could tell this is going to kind of like put you in a different direction. So let me just keep on going on what you want to go on.
You make a good point because it's like, you do kind of adapt to the person, but it's not like you're changing who you are or anything like that. It's more just like changing what you're going to focus on and talk about based on the person.
Right. And what's important to them.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I always try to find out at first is what is important to the person. Like there's no bigger if I could tell like a new agent one thing, like it would be find out what's important to them first and tell them why you can deliver that.
Honestly, that's probably going to be one of the clips that we'll probably use because that really is essential. For listing wise, yes, but then also too, buyer wise, because again, I think this is something that you had posted as well as far as what was it? It was like a negative experience that you had with an agent. And I think that for the most part, a lot of what I read was that the agents were just not listening to the buyer's budget was the number one thing.
Budget,
which is just wild to me that someone tells you what their budget is if you send them.
Why would you give them anything otherwise?
Yeah.
They're telling you what they want.
Right. Yeah.
Just give it to them.
And just focusing on those needs, I think, is just super, super important. And it's almost like I don't want to say obvious, but it's almost like okay, like. You're going to tell me exactly what it is you're looking for, and then I will provide that. But then, there's a lot of stuff that kind of goes on behind the scenes as well.
Yeah, and you got to be real with them. Like, obviously some things don't work, and you need to explain that to them.
Yeah.
But I mean, I try to explain things once very clearly, and if they insist on what they want, then that's what they want. But,
No, definitely. When did you get into real estate?
Yeah, so I was a special ed teacher in North Brunswick for 11 years.
Okay.
Actually just left a few years ago. So after a couple years of doing it, I was doing well, doing fine, living off it. But I knew I wanted more. I knew like I was a little bored. I was just like, there's more to life.
Yeah.
I need a little more excitement. I need like stimulation. I'm that kind of person. I got to be like doing stuff.
Yeah.
So I felt like I was just kind of, standing around and, I liked it. It was fun for a while, but I needed more. So I actually found a Groupon. I don't know if that's even around anymore.
I don't think so. Yeah, but.
Probably not. And it was like $300 to get your real estate license, and I was just like, why not? And then like as soon as I saw it, like a guy I was teaching with said that he just coincidentally he just said it. He said I have my real estate license. He like showed me his business card, and he was like, I sell a few houses every year, make a good amount extra, and I was like, oh my god, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
So I got licensed. Like it was the same summer that I got my master's in school business administration, and that was like this huge thing and big loan in like 2 years, like this $300 Groupon far exceeded where that took me, which was nowhere. So and then I was doing the two for a long time together. Like it was like 7-8 years where I was doing both.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And the first few years I wasn't really doing much. I was kind of just like hanging out with it. I was doing it, but I had no direction. And then the last few years it took off. I started being like, oh man, I can really like dive in and like spend all my extra time, nights, weekends, summer, like going all in, and I could really crush it. And I started to. So then it was like the last few years of teaching where I was like, it got like insane. Like I was like, so I was working on my escape plan, so to speak. And, I had to, pick one or the other. I knew where I was going. But
Yeah, that's actually awesome. The idea of trying to be in a field that requires probably your undivided attention Monday through Friday from, 9 to 3:30 or whatever like the school timing is. Yeah. And then something that requires your undivided attention 24/7.
Yeah, it was a little crazy.
Yeah, and especially starting to get busy, I'm sure it was a nice tough balance.
Yeah, like the analogy of like a duck on the water, like the feet are
Looks
pedaling
calm,
real
yeah.
quick under, and you don't see the duck looks calm. That was me. I had to put this like face on, like, oh, okay,
Yeah,
everything's not on fire, like,
Yeah.
because I'd be like teaching and like
Yeah.
get a text like from an agent, like, you need to call me immediately. This deal's
Right.
blowing up, but I'm teaching, so
Right.
yeah, it was pretty intense like that. So I was always like kind of sneaking a text here and there. I had my laptop up.
Yeah.
Probably wasn't the best thing, but I did okay. No one seemed to.
Yeah. You had to do what you had to do.
Yeah, exactly.
And like you mentioned as far as direction and like trying to figure out what direction you wanted to go in. Was there anything? Was it just the overall situation as far as like where you found yourself, or was there anything like in particular that was like, you know what, this is the reason why I know that I should make the switch over to full time?
Yeah, I was just way more passionate about it. Like I'm obsessed with real estate, and I have been for a while. So like I love it. So there was no question, and I knew I was like done mentally with teaching. But it was paying the bills, and I don't, some people like just quit their job and go into real estate, and that's amazing. I don't have that in me.
No.
I would have been freaked out.
Yeah.
Even when I was like doing well already. So I needed a lot of build up. And I also invest. So that was the other component to it. So I had like a plan in my head that I was going to buy, X amount of properties and units and have like cash flow that was a little bit more steady coming in before I would take the leap. So I did that. And, I was working as a teacher. My wife was a nurse. So we were like, fine. We were making, decent enough money to, support our lives. And I was crazy disciplined. I did not spend $1 of the commission. I invested every single dollar.
Wow.
And I was selling a lot of houses. So I bought a few multifamilies. And then it all came together at once where I hit the mark where I could retire and have like some sort of pension. It's 10 years. I had to do 11 because my first year was like I was like kind of a sub.
Okay.
So I hit the 11 years. We had a baby, right after that. And I had like the 4 rentals I wanted. So like I got it all at that same point. So I was working to that for a few years. Yeah. So it was pretty cool. It's like, it was such a long time working to that. So it's crazy being on like the other end that like, I did it.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. So yeah, that was my plan, and it worked. So.
And obviously nothing against anyone that I've had these conversations with, but I'm sure you probably have as well too. And I think I started having these conversations back in maybe 2019, 2020.
Right.
Where the new craze was, hey, I want to buy a multifamily.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to invest in a multifamily.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone really realized the amount of like back end work that goes into it. So you explaining what you did, because I'm sure if you say to people like, I have an investment property, it's just like, oh, I want one too.
Exactly.
As if it's like, like something you just
They
go to the
think
store
it's
and
like shoes.
yeah, just go grab a pair or something. It's like, well, let me just also explain kind of what I had to go through that led me to be able to get to the point to have an investment property and all these other things.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
You need a lot of money. I mean, there's ways to buy, with little down, but I've never really got into that. I know there's creative stuff and there's gurus and videos, but I don't know any other way other than, saving up a lot for a big down payment.
Yeah.
But yeah, I it's funny, like clients tell me they want to buy, and I kind of like don't take it seriously. Like, they have to really push it. I've had very few that really like, one actually just joined my team. She just got licensed. I always talk about her because like she bought 2 multifamilies with me, and I'm like, wow, like you're one of the few that followed through it. And it's not like a diss on anyone. It's just that it's hard and it's scary and it's a lot and there's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So most people don't follow through.
Right. And like with that, I think that a lot of people just don't realize what it is. And I think that on my point, and going back to like the idea of just, educating people and just like providing them with whatever it is like that they're looking for, I feel like sometimes, unfortunately, what they're looking for is like not a reality check, but just like, hey, this is really what you're up against. Like number one, you're up against contractors, or you're up against banks, or you're up against people that just have money cash to put down.
Yeah.
And they don't really care if they need to replace the windows or do this or do that, because this is all part of like their investment loop. So if you're just looking at something where you're thinking, okay, I'm going to buy an investment property and it's going to be brand new and I'm going to get a tenant in and they'll pay everything on time and no issues with them. It's like, there really is a lot that goes into it as far as like full time and just property management and a lot of the back end stuff that until you have those conversations, then next thing you know, like you don't really hear from a few people as much as you as you did before that.
It's so true. Yeah, I mean, it's like another world that you have to learn. So it's not that you can't do it. I'm not special or anything, so I figured it out. But but I mean, I'm still always learning and always struggling and failing. So like, but it's a lot to learn, and if you gotta really want to do it.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
Did you have any mentors along the way from when you first started? And I don't know if like that, that teacher that you had mentioned or whoever it was, but just someone to kind of, I guess, to bounce some questions off and get some, get yourself kind of figured out.
Yeah. So not really. I wish I did. I would have went a lot faster, and that's why I like being a team leader, because the people I'm helping on my team, everyone on my team has done much more than I did my first few years.
Awesome.
So I didn't have that, and I think that's why the first few years I was kind of like, I wasn't like working hard enough. I kind of didn't know, like, I didn't have a coach like me to be like, no, you need to do this every day. You need to make phone calls every day. You need to do an open house like twice a month, So I didn't have that, and I would have excelled a lot faster had I done that. But what I think I started learning is just by like really social media and just like starting following people and all these coaches out there. So the answer to the question is my mentor was like all the different, real estate people out there that, some local, some more like national, your Tom Ferry's and, other people like that. So that, that was mainly it. It was just like a mishmash. And then I started learning. I always looked up to like Rob Sells and Jay, Rob Dukansky, seeing the billboards, and that kind of motivated me.
I've done, and obviously, you have a good relationship with him.
Not good. I've reached out to him in the past. I've met with him, once or twice, and like he was just for nothing at all. Like I didn't think he would give me the light of day, but he like taught me some stuff.
Yeah,
and really got me going to like being a team leader and growing. So
awesome.
So yeah, he was really helpful with that. Yeah,
I've done a few deals. And a lot, I know that he has like a massive team. I've never met him personally before. Yeah. But I've talked to a bunch of people from his team.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Was there a time that you said something else that I wanted to touch on? The learning process. And for me, like that learning curve, and I'll say that one of the toughest things that I deal with in this business, and I always love hearing from other agents, is just like the peaks and the valleys of real estate, because there's times where I feel like I'm just like unstoppable, like on top of the world, that nothing can go wrong. Yeah. And then, I mean, within even like a 12-hour window, everything crumbles. And I'm literally like thinking like, is this worth it? Is this worth like the stress? Is this worth like the constant, back and forth? So I'm not going to ask you if you deal with that, because I know you probably do as an agent, but more so like how you deal with that, because I would love to pick up some tips. Yeah,
totally. And I always want tips from people. I don't know like any agent, I feel like they're lying if they say it's all everything's good every day. Yeah, no, it's so funny. I'm the same way. Like sometimes you just get that rush, like, oh, I could do anything. And like it'll be like when I feel like that, I'm like, I may not make a half hour where I don't change that. Like I get like a call, like it's so funny. I was going to post something like that recently where I'm like, right now in my career at this moment, this week, everything's going good. Everything is like clicking. I got listings, everything's selling, deals are flowing. So like, we'll see what happens in the next hour. Yeah. I'm sure it'll be changing. So yeah, I mean, I there's a lot of things like, always trying like mentally to deal with all the crap and the disappointment. you know, it's just like a resilience. It's like you just freaking keep going.
Yeah.
You know, I have notes in my phone that I look to when I'm really down, like, you know, when things are really going bad, like, you know, just reminders, like,
Yeah.
you've been through
Send
this
those to
before.
me.
Yeah, I will. You know, I like someone taught me like a 5 minute rule. Like, you know, when something really bad happens, like 5 minutes, give yourself 5 minutes and sulk hard,
Yeah.
and that's it. You're
Yeah.
done.
Just move on.
Yeah, just move on. Cause yeah, I mean, we deal with some heavy stuff, and like it's
Yeah.
kind of like it's crazy. Like, so you know, I try to teach my team about it and like let them know beforehand, like the kind of issues, you know, and it's tough, but you know, try to stay even. I think I'm much more even than I used to be.
Yeah.
With the highs and the lows, and you know, my poor wife has to deal with me, and like,
Yeah.
we're probably the most like, I don't know, emotional people as realtors, like, because it's crazy. I mean, I think we deal with a lot. So
Well, because, you know, we deal with, number one, we deal with people, which
Yeah.
is one of the biggest X factors, because no two people are alike.
Exactly.
And then on top of that, you deal with something that no two transactions are going to be the same as well.
Exactly.
And then, you know, how this person handles this, you know, hiccup in the transaction is going to be different than this person. And everything is just so tangible, and everything is such like an exponent of what's going on.
Yeah.
To where we almost can't really develop one strategy to tackle everything.
Right.
Just because it just changes so much.
Right.
And, you know, same situation where feeling great, feeling amazing, and then the next day, you know, you have like a septic that fails an inspection, and then you have, you know, 2 buyers that didn't get an offer accepted, and then, you know, I look at it to like dissect anything that I could have done differently, and instead of, because right away I take it as like, okay, I could have done something, and then I think, okay, I can't really change anything about the septic system. It's not the buyer's fault. It's not whatever. And at the end of the day, it's going to be something that's either going to be fixed and it's going to work for everybody, or it's not going to work out and it just wasn't meant to be.
Exactly.
And that's a tough mentality to get to eventually.
Yeah.
And I think it takes a bunch of. I remember my first deal that died. I don't know if you do, but if you don't mind sharing it. My first one was, I had buyers who absolutely loved the place, and it was my first horrible inspection that I dealt with, to where it was at a point to where, I mean, we didn't even get out of the basement, and I already knew
You just know
that this is really, really bad.
Yep.
And rightfully so at the time, like, you know, in hindsight, rightfully so. I can only imagine how bad it was for my buyers hearing, you know, whatever it is. And the good thing is that I learned that then I changed my conversations with my buyers before an inspection, just to be like, hey, just so you know, tomorrow's going to suck.
Yeah.
And you're paying somebody who's going to tell you everything that's wrong with the place that you're about to buy. So that made me start to realize, like, okay, let me at least take something away from this, because I mean, when I say everything was wrong with it, there was a lot that was wrong with it. To where the request page was probably like maybe 3 or 4 pages long. And then me being like a newer agent, I didn't even realize that was going to be something that automatically was probably not going to go
it's
through.
not going to happen.
But I just remember feeling so defeated, because I think I was more so almost, you know, being selfish in the sense of like, what could I could have done this, or I could have fixed this, where I couldn't have done anything to make that house any bit better than it was.
Exactly.
Other than like paying a contractor to go in and fix everything, and then just be out of the money for it.
Right.
But that one stung for a while, just because it was the first time that I experienced that. But the good thing about it is that I took something away with it, where I was like, I at least need to prepare people for what they're going into, because I wasn't even prepared for that.
Yeah.
You know?
That's another thing I try to do with every like big problem I have in real estate. I always try to think, what is there like one thing I can like take from this, learn from, do different next time. Even if like I didn't, you know, wasn't like my fault, but even if it's like not your fault, like there's probably something like that you can like improve your process that may avoid that situation the next time. But yeah, you know, it's always an ongoing thing, just dealing with the emotional stress of it and the problems. You know, I'm fortunate that like, I've been doing this a while now. Like every commission check, I'm not like living and dying on. So like that takes that pressure off. Cause when you're new, you might be like, oh, I got to get this sale.
Yeah.
So then like, so that's gotten a little bit better for me personally, which is nice. And even back then I was good about like, you don't want to have commission breath. You don't ever want your clients to think like, oh, we got to close this.
Because of the commission. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But no matter how long I've been doing this, there's always going to be immense pressure. I don't think like dealing with clients in the sale of their home, it's a big deal. Like I'll always feel like the pressure.
Yeah.
Especially if it's like, they're buying and selling with you and they got like 3 kids and it's like, damn.
It's like, hey, no big deal, but my entire life depends on the decisions that you're going to make for us and help us make.
Yeah. So I'm like extremely careful now. And I find that with like agents who have been doing it like a long time, like they're very, very careful.
Yeah.
About what they say, what they do. They make sure everything's done, taken care of. You don't want to miss anything because there could be like big repercussions.
Yeah.
And even with like I have these buyers that like, we lost a couple offers and like, we made great offers. It's very competitive and, I don't win every one, so I feel that pressure of like the next one, like we better get it.
I know. Yeah.
They're going to be looking at me soon. Like,
because and luckily I haven't had it, maybe like a couple of times throughout like the years that I've been doing this, which I understand is okay. Like it's almost like part of it to where if you need to blame somebody and then I'm the easy target, like I'll take it.
Yeah,
I'll keep going.
Totally.
But I think like for the most part, and I'm sure, for you, it would be the same, but it's an emotional point of almost like being rejected.
Yeah.
And it's like maybe like looking, what I took away from it was that, you're looking for someone to blame and you're looking for a reason why. And then it stings just to say the only reason is because somebody else gave a better offer or better terms or more money. And that's the reason why we didn't,
exactly.
Didn't get the place.
It happens a lot.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like, listen, if you were the seller, like, and you saw these 2 offers, the other one was much higher, much more down payment. They waived it. It's a lot stronger. Like, it wasn't even a tough decision.
Yeah.
But sometimes when the clients lose, they'll get upset and they'll blame you anyway. And so, like, that's another thing I teach us, our realtors on my team. I'm like, listen, you're going to get fired sometimes. It's not your fault at all. It just it's going to happen.
Yeah. It's like the name of the game of just, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
And things happen and, they don't all pan out your way. So,
yeah.
But
we have a lot of wins.
Yeah.
So I'd rather have a job that like I have so many wins and great things, help so many people that like, even though, yes, you're going to have losses that are not fair, I'd rather still have this than just a job.
I agree.
Yeah.
When did, talking about the team a little bit, when did you kind of realize where you're like, okay, I need to expand, I need to bring somebody on? I don't know, like the first, maybe like the first person you brought on or what their role was and then like how it led into what it is now.
Sure. So I was at my old company when I started thinking about growing a team and I didn't feel like they were, the right place to grow a team. I didn't see a lot of teams there and that's when I started looking into Remax because I see a lot more teams there and, I figured they could help me more with that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like I needed to grow a team. It was like I wanted to.
Gotcha.
Because I felt like, I could just, leverage more. Just like I could earn more by, and having other people do work too. I liked the idea of helping people. I like teaching, obviously.
Yeah.
I was a teacher. So that was all appealing to me. And, I wanted to be big and, I wanted, I want it all. So I figured you can only do so much as solo. So that's why I started doing it. And my first team member, Diane, who's still on my team.
Oh, nice.
She's my mother-in-law.
Oh, okay.
So it worked out
she
perfectly.
Better stay
on your team. Exactly. But she's great, and she was the perfect first person there because I had to learn how to be a team leader, and that's a whole another animal.
Yeah. So
like I certainly made a lot of mistakes, but like it was with her, so it was cool. It was easy, you know. It was so so that helped a lot. And Remax helped a lot with that. And then the next one was a past client who just started seeing like, on my posts, what I'm doing, and he was interested. So Then, he hopped on, got his license. He's killing it now. Then my brother joined, and
Oh, awesome.
and then an old friend, and now another past client. So,
Yeah.
it's been growing like that. I don't like actively recruit. I might at some point, probably, but right now I've just been taking it slow and only taking people that like I know.
Yeah.
But it's been great.
Yeah.
So
And I think like what you said is probably really important in that aspect of that you wanted to create a team and not like needing to.
yeah,
And like I feel like that is more so driven by like the passion of it rather than like the pressure of it.
yeah,
And that probably makes things a little bit more organic and makes things a little bit more almost like easy flowing because it's like, all right, I want to do
I
this.
want to
I'm
do it.
passionate. I want to build this and help people along the way
Yeah,
rather than like I like you were saying too about like the commission driven agent who is just thinking about getting this deal closed so they get
right.
paid or getting this listing and already calculating. I'm sure you've seen the memes of where
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you get it, whatever, like you already have the amount of commission calculated. And you're absolutely right. For someone starting out, that financial pressure could be there. And like that's why too, like a lot of the agents that I talked to that did switch careers had a pretty good idea. And it sounds like you had a great plan in place as far as I'm going to start doing this. I'm going to wait until this, and then I'll be able to really go
Right.
in full time with it. So yeah, that whole thing makes a lot of sense, and it just sounds like you're building a nice a good team environment and aspect over there.
Yeah, it's going well. We got a good crew. I wanted to do it, and they want to be here. So it's
Yeah,
all everyone. Our morale is very good, very strong.
yeah,
I hired an assistant out of need. For
yeah,
for that was like, okay, I'm real busy. I
right,
need help with paperwork and all the tedious stuff. So that
yeah,
I did out of need. But yeah, the team has been out of want to. One member of my team is helping me with like showings and running around to get to lock boxes and
yeah.
things like that. So that was partly out of need too. But yeah, for the most part, the team members come on because like I want to grow and they want my help. So
Yeah. That was really important for me. We hired an operations manager
yeah,
who kind of handles a lot. I mean, a lot of stuff.
that's
A
what
lot
I call
of
mine too.
yeah.
Operations manager.
Just
Yep.
just like a lot of like the back end stuff. A lot of the client communication and paperwork and documents. Because like you were saying, there's so much that's going on that like
Yeah.
you need to be on top of everything from the beginning all the way until closing day, and even probably like beyond that. Because I'm sure
Yeah.
people reach out to you, still
Yeah.
ask
Yeah.
questions and need copies of certain things.
Exactly.
I had a tough time because, and not that like I feel like these people or her in general, her name's Dominique, that she can't do the position or the job, but I was just so like controlling because I was just so used to always being the person that was
I
doing
know.
it. So
Yep.
from all like the minor paperwork all the way to the major stuff, I was just so used to having my own system and my own cycle. So
Yeah.
it took a good probably 6 months to be like, okay,
Yeah, I know.
and it's
Let
been
someone do it.
it's
Yep.
been the best thing though, just because it's freed up time. I have someone that I trust that can handle that aspect of the transaction. So then I can be thinking about something else
Right.
instead. And then it's a win-win for everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we should be focused on our business, the main things with our clients, the negotiating, the important stuff, and then we grow our business.
Yeah.
And like all the little things, if it can be outsourced and someone else would appreciate the job, then it's always a good thing.
Yeah. And like, talking about your business and how much it's grown, do you think that, I know that there's a lot of different factors to it, but do you think at this point of your career, a lot of it is based off of like referrals and previous clients, or a mixture of that along with just your name, your team name, the brand of it all? What do you think kind of contributes the most to it?
Yeah, definitely a lot of past clients. I've been doing a really good job staying in touch with people. Just trying to offer value, show them that I'm still around after the transaction. So, I do a lot of things. We do like a client appreciation event every year.
Okay.
I try to be the referral guy for my clients. I think the best way I can add value to their lives post closing is call me when you need someone for something because I have such good contacts from anything contractors, attorneys, plumber, People ask me for stuff that's not real estate related, a mechanic, a CPA. I'm local and I know a lot of people. So that's the best way I can add value. And a lot of people reach out to me. My past clients text me like, hey, we need this or that, whatever it may be. Do you know somebody, electrician, whatever it is? So I'm always like kind of doing that, and then, just give gifts and stuff, let them know I appreciate them and their referrals. So, that's been the biggest thing, to have business sort of rolling in, even if I'm not, doing anything.
Yeah. The value adding, and like that, we've talked about that a lot, just by sitting and talking, but I think that's huge. Like you said, from even after the transaction, just adding more value, just by anything that you need, basically, just give me a call.
Yeah.
And I'll have something to figure it out, or I'll recommend somebody, and
exactly,
like the go-to person for all that type of stuff.
Yeah. So they're not going on Google, which is like a crapshoot. You don't know who you're going to get. So it's like,
who's paying for ads, who's doing this, who's paying for whatever
exactly,
position or whatever.
Who's never going to call you back.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you ask me for someone, and this is something I've been working on for so long, and I've gotten so much better. At first I had people that weren't great that I recommended, and I look bad.
Yeah.
So I really have like focused on, building my network of other local vendors, and making sure they're people that I know, like they'll be happy.
Yeah.
Because it always reflects on us,
Yeah, that's a great point, because even when I first started too, same thing. Like I would recommend people that either I heard other people had a good interaction with, or that like I kind of knew them a little bit, and then I would always be nervous. And then I got to the point where I'm very confident now. Like if someone does ask me about either an attorney or an inspector, or I'm confident to say, I've had such a great experience with them, and more importantly, my clients have had such a great experience.
Yeah.
So reach out to them. And I'm never like, you have to work with them.
Right,
like, just have the conversation, see if you guys click. And then, if you want to, shop prices, or if you want to just, get a feel for other people, by all means.
Yeah, and you could say I got other people too.
Yeah.
So no, definitely. And it feels good to know that you have someone you can refer and not have to worry that because they'll call you if it didn't
100%. Yeah.
They'll let you know.
Same thing with the just plumbers or electricians. It's like, oh yeah, so and so hasn't called me back.
Yeah.
And then you have to get involved, and then
I know, and then it's like that's not your job.
Yeah.
It's like I know. So.
That's when it gets a little frustrating.
Exactly.
Sometimes. But I am awesome, man. Yeah, I wanted to real quick too wrap it up and just talk about. I know that you did a video on it, but just like the NRA settlement stuff.
Yeah, NAR.
NAR.
It's not guns.
And I did the last podcast that I went on that I did was all about the settlement. I try to do a deep dive into the information, just because so many people were talking about it.
Yeah.
But just getting your take on the information that you've seen, that you've read up on, and where things are at.
Yeah. So, and as realtors, we should be putting out information. I think at first I was like, I had the attitude of like, this is going to blow over, and then it's like, man, they're really going in on this.
Right.
And like, I don't know, it happened so fast. It was like crazy.
And I feel like out of nowhere, I know that it's been kind of circulating for a while, but then I feel like it like hit a point to where it was like, okay, this is serious now.
Yeah. And even when it became serious, they're like, this is serious, and like, we're going to feel this in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh no, July, we're going to feel it. It's like, oh my God.
Right, yeah.
So it's real. I don't think it's the end of the world. I don't think it's a catastrophe, but I do think it'll change our day-to-day a little bit.
Yeah.
My biggest takeaway is, I have such an issue with mainstream news media. I'm like becoming more and more like that, because, when they post lies about, foreign affairs, I may not know enough. Like maybe I'm like, I can't really tell how dishonest they're being. And now it's like they're talking about my field that I'm in it, and I'm like, oh, you're lying, and I see why you're lying.
Yeah.
So that was like, it hurts to see that, and then the headlines were, the end of the 6% commission.
Right,
and it's like,
right. Yeah.
Wait a minute, that's not even what they're talking about. It has nothing to do with the number 6.
Yeah.
So that was frustrating. So that's why I put out like a video to like clarify. So they don't want the MLS to show what the buyer agent commission is, and like to me, it's like, well, so now we're limiting transparency and disclosure, when like our biggest things for our ethics is like transparency and disclosure. So why are we getting rid of that?
Right.
To me, that seems odd, because we're still gonna find out what it is.
Yeah,
but it's
and
more
they
work.
still can provide the buyer's commission. It just can't be on. Yeah,
right. They can still provide buyer commission. they just can't disclose it on the MLS.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I guess it can't be the form of commission. It's got to be like a concession. I think that's the part we still need to figure out. But, I think buyer's agents are still going to be compensated because there's still a need. Like, that's not, when I go on a listing appointment and the sellers say, should I compensate the buyer agent or do I not have to? I'm going to say, oh, you need to. Like, if you want to sell for top dollar, you need to.
Yeah.
You don't legally have to. But, and you always could have offered $1. That was always on the table.
Yeah.
You always could have sold for sale by owner. But why are people not doing that? Because they want to sell for top dollar and they trust us that we're going to get it done because selling a house is a big deal and there's a lot to know. So it's like you do need realtors. So this settlement didn't end the need for realtors, but it's going to make our lives more difficult.
Yeah, there was a lot that you said that I agree on everything. Number one, I think, is the perception of the media. 100%. I talked about that last week as well too. That the headlines are just wild.
Clickbait.
Yeah,
and it's sad.
And then you start looking into it, and then it's like, okay, well, that's just like a passing comment on something that they really don't have any context or idea of what.
Right. It was like you didn't read this, did you?
Yeah, or even have any idea what you're talking about. You're just going along with like, oh yeah, this is going to be a good thing, and it's like, okay. And then looking into it a little bit, and I read through all of like the frequently asked questions because they posted something on their website, and then there was like 186, and I didn't read the entire settlement package, which I know a lot of people did, but I got the Spark Note version.
I read
of
the
it.
Spark Notes.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Just to get an idea.
It was from NAR, so I'm like, all right, it's still the right source.
But to your point, like a lot of it was almost a lot of the frequently asked questions. What I saw was there was a lot of almost like media trained answers to a lot of those questions. And like they had like a 3-step thing to where it was like, no, the seller still can offer the commission, but it just can't be in this form and it has to be like this. Right. To your point, it will make it more difficult. We'll probably get more phone calls to be like, hey, what's the commission? And then we have to have that additional conversation with, with the buyer's agent. But I agree that for sale by owners has never not been a thing, but there's a reason why so many owners are using agents because they see the value that's added for a professional that's bringing their their home to the market, and the same thing on the buying side. It's like, do I know some buyers that may be okay with the idea of bouncing around to open houses and then trying to contact every listing agent and trying to get all these? Hey, knock yourself out.
Yeah,
if
exactly.
if that's the route that you want to go, no worries at all.
Right.
I also know that there's a ton that are going to and do understand the value of working with an agent.
Yeah.
Who then is going to be able to just be there and be transparent with them and let them know and really just be the person on their side that I feel like is very, very important. So, yeah, I agree. I think it's going to make things a little bit more difficult for us, but there'll just be a couple more hoops for us to jump through.
Yeah, exactly. Which, is what it is.
It is what it is.
Like we said.
Yeah.
That's our solution.
Yeah, man. But awesome. I mean, listen, I think that this was awesome. I don't know on your end, anything else that you wanted to touch base on?
No, I think we covered everything. And it was
like I was saying, a lot of these conversations start off with an idea, and then they venture off into a bunch of like little side conversations.
Yeah, exactly.
Alex, I appreciate it. I'm happy this happened. I love seeing all the stuff that you're doing. I love that to be able to have another connection in this business is
definitely.
super
it's
important.
Always a good thing. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything that you want to say as far as things to check you out on, website wise, all that good stuff?
Always best to just follow me on Instagram and Facebook. I try to make it fun. So at Alex Monaco Real Estate, and that's it.
Awesome. Yep. And Monaco is Monaco.
Correct.
Awesome. Perfect. Yep. Guys, thank you so much. As always, subscribe, like, reach out. This will probably come out in 2 weeks because today... We'll know it because today's the earthquake day.
Yes.
That was very interesting. So, yeah, this will be out probably in about 2 weeks or so. And then next week is going to be another one with another guest. So thank you guys for everything, for reaching out. All the feedback has been great. Looking to continue into 2024 and keep building this thing. So thank you guys so much. Enjoy.